Hey there, it's Shannon. Welcome to Goodnight, a podcast where I say goodnight to people who want me to say goodnight to them. How are you? Yesterday I was sitting in the coffee shop and I saw this woman crossing the street. There was something really special about her, like a glow about her. And a little while later, as I was leaving the coffee shop, I saw her sitting outside, drinking her coffee and journaling. And I felt compelled to tell her how lovely she is and what a beautiful energy she gives off. And I did. It was a special moment of connection, and she said it had taken a long time for her to get to this point, and that really impressed me and made me respect her even more. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more of her story someday. And I'm just really intrigued. So yeah, that was a really cool moment. I felt very like God leading me in that moment, because when I told her just what I saw in her, she got tears in her eyes and she was just like, I needed to hear that today. And it was really cool. Well, tonight I'm going to tell you the story of the day that the twins were released from NICU. So Zeb and Zeke are my twins. They're number 6 and 7, and they're now 6 years old. It was my 7th pregnancy, and I was 38 when they were born. Yes. So they had they're identical twin boys, which in like baby pregnancy terms means there was one shared, so there was like one baby at one time, and then he like made a copy of himself. And now there's 2. So they each had their own amniotic sacs, or like little balloons that they were floating around in. They each had their own umbilical cords plugged into one placenta, which is the thing that feeds the baby. So for whatever I'm eating and drinking, goes through my digestive system into the placenta, or bloodstream into the placenta, and then to the babies, okay? So there was one shared placenta for both of them. So they had this thing that identical twins can have called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. And what that is within the placenta, too many blood vessels, which we'll call resources, are going to one baby and then not enough to the other baby. And thankfully, this was caught just in time. God ordered my steps, and everything happened just in flow, from not going to my old midwife because I was mad at her, to going to a new midwife who is more medically inclined, to her doing an ultrasound at the first meeting, and then her saying it's twins, you need to go to the regular baby doctor, and then they're going to also refer you to the baby specialists. So that all got me in process. And the first time I went to the specialist, the doctor said, you have twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, and we need to have. And so Joe was like, are you sure? And the guy's like, this was my specialty in baby doctor specialist school. I am 98% sure. I will leave room for error, but he's like, this is actually like my main focus. So yes, it is. So anyway, he was really cool. Anywho's, so we go to Cincinnati Children's Hospital. We have this laser ablation surgery. It worked. The baby's, fluid levels balanced out perfectly. They did a wonderful job. They were so organized there. I love Cincinnati Children's Hospital for that. They did an awesome job, and their team was fabulous. I was on bed rest from 20 weeks after having that surgery on. And I really had to guard my peace. And what I did was I had like horse blinders on, and I just stayed close to God, kept my mind right. I did not entertain fear at all. anyone who told me anything, fearful or worrisome, I just ignored them and just let it go, because I knew that the only way for me to carry on with this twin pregnancy at 38 years old with all that's happened was to be really happy and take good care of myself and be really positive. And so at 33 weeks, though, my body went as far as it could go with this pregnancy. And I went into the hospital. I was like on observation for about 3 days. They were giving me some kind of something to keep the pregnancy going. But, I just went as long as I could go. Thankfully, that the specialist doctor that diagnosed the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, thankfully he was on rotation that weekend at the hospital. And so I woke up one morning and I just knew the twins will be born today. And moments later, that doctor walks in and he's like, Shannon, the babies are perfectly fine right now, and I want to keep it that way. I'd like to have an emergency C-section this morning, and let's make sure they're safe and you're safe. But they, once they're born, they'll have to stay here in NICU. They're only 33 weeks. They're not going to be able to do the suck, swallow, breathe. So they will have to stay here. Like, just so you know, that's what will happen. And it was just like, okay, I was just super calm and I woke up and knew that. And I told Joe, I was like, the twins are going to be born today. And Joe was like, what? And then when the doctor came in, that was some good street cred for me, by the way, with Joe. Anywho, so we had the emergency C-section. The babies went to NICU, and that began 8 weeks of a NICU stay for the twins. I kept the best attitude that I could have. I told myself that I wanted to walk through this with strength and dignity, and that I did not look back on this time with regrets. And my typical day was, so I had 2 days in the hospital after they were born, and then I went home. I recovered from that pregnancy, that birth, faster than any other birth, because I had to. Do you know what I mean? I had to be better because I'd go home. So I went home, slept at home, woke up in the morning, spent time with God, kissed the kids, kissed Joe, drove 45 minutes to the hospital, to the NICU, cried all the way there, got there, held the babies. I was very teachable, cooperative, hands-on. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to be the one changing their diapers and, giving them their baths. And I mostly would just hold them. I'd hold them right together, both of them together, even though they had all these cords and hookups and everything like that on them. I held them both together, talked to them, sang to them, held them while they slept, everything I could do. And then I'd go and pump and try to remember to eat and, feed them, because I had to learn how to, they fed through a tube for a long time in their nose. And then eventually, it was bottles. So I had to learn a special way to hold them and feed them bottles. And I nursed all of my other kids. So this was completely new territory to me, but that's what I would do. And then when it was shift change, I want to say, was that around 7 or something like that? I'd leave, cry all the way home, eat, and then, spend time with the kids and Joe, go to sleep, and then repeat. And that was every single day for 8 weeks. And then, of course, before I went to bed, I'd call the hospital. They called the NICU unit that the twins were in that night. Thankfully, they always stayed together. And so I would always call and tell the nurses who I was, and I was calling to check on the twins and that to tell them goodnight, and that I'm there if they need anything. So every night I would call and say goodnight to the twins. That was so hard. Just not being able to see their little faces every night when they sleep, or watch over them. That was the hard part. And then one day I woke up and I felt different. I actually dressed nice. I did my hair, I did my makeup. And when I left the house, like there was like great songs on the radio. So we lived on a mountain outside of Chattanooga at this time. And I'm driving down the mountain, and then there was this flashing road sign that said, expect delays, because they were going to be doing construction on the road going down the mountain soon. I saw that sign. Something inside of me rose up and I screamed at the top of my lungs, no more delays. Like, I'm sick of being in this waiting mode of, my whole life is on hold right now. And it's like I'm rushing to get to the hospital and I'm rushing to get home. I'm guilty for not being home. I'm guilty for not being with the twins. It was just like I felt like, my life was on pause until the twins could come home. And I screamed, no more delays. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm not one to scream. I'm not that person, but I was done staying in this holding pattern. And I felt pretty good after screaming that, even though it was kind of embarrassing, like to myself, but I felt it was cathartic. Do you know what I mean? So I'm driving the 45 minutes to the hospital, all good songs on the way. It just felt really good. Get to the hospital, I got a great parking spot, that's a whole thing too, but I got a great parking spot, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I walk into Zeb and Zeke's NICU unit that day, and the nurse on duty there said, the nurse practitioner is on the phone and she wants to talk to you. Immediately, my heart stops. And in these types of critical situations like this, I get really quiet, I get really serious, and I pay really close attention. But hardly ever is it good that the nurse practitioner is on the phone when you arrive. Usually that's because something's really wrong. So I'm paying really close attention. And the nurse practitioner, she gets on the phone, says hello. And by the way, this nurse practitioner, I was really close to her. She had been there with me the first day that the twins were born. She's the one, a really good communicator. She even bought the twins outfits and made them blankets. She was just very sweet. And she had identical twin girls. So we were really bonding over this. So the nurse practitioner's on the phone. Hello, Shannon. How are you? Good morning. And then she said, how would you like to take the twins home tomorrow? My soul exhaled the biggest sigh of relief I've ever felt in my whole life. I cried. All of it came out. Everything I'd been holding in, trying to be strong, trying to be positive, trying to be a good team player with the staff and everyone and Joe and the kids. I'm just trying my best and just hanging on. And also the rarity that the twins would go home together at the same time. That barely ever happens in NICU. So I knew I was really, really grateful when she said, I wanted to be the one to tell you. All the nurses listening in the room, they are thinking something really, really bad was happening. And everyone was silent and staring at me you could have heard a pin drop in the room. And then I said, they're going home. And we all cried and hugged each other. I was so happy. My worst nightmare was over. Well, anyway, what you had to do next was the twins had to pass the car seat test, which means they had to sit in their car seats for a certain number of hours, and with heart monitors on and everything like that, to know that they could handle, being in that upright position. So thankfully I was prepared, and I had already had the car seats in the car ready to go, just sort of like an act of faith, like eventually they will come home. So the car seats were already installed in the back of the car, ready to go. So I was so delighted, got my stuff and grabbed my purse and my phone and walked back to the parking garage to get the car seats out of the car. And I'm calling Joe and telling him, and I was so like deliriously happy. I was just it was like a victory. And what's funny though is when I got to the car, these were brand new car seats, and I didn't know how to get them out. It was like the fancy ones. Because there's like a certain kind of car seat, like it's the kind that there's like a base and you click it out. And we had babies since 2005, and we just had a one that just faced backwards, but it was all in one unit, and then you could re-tilt it and turn it forward when they got big enough to be forward facing. Anyway, so these brand new car seats, I did not know how to work them. I was like wrestling with them. I was wrestling with these car seats. It was so funny. I was so dumb. But anyway, I was too happy to care. But finally, I got the car seats out, took them up. The twins passed the test, and they like had actual baby. I bought going home clothes for the twins in Cincinnati after we had the laser ablation surgery at 20 weeks. And as an act of faith, I bought 2 going home outfits for the twins with hats and little stuffed animals. And I was just like, they are going to come through the surgery. Everything is going to be great. And they're wearing these things home. And so it was so satisfying to me to put those 2 outfits on the twins to come home. And so they came home on 11/11, which 11/11, I always see that number on the clock. All the time. I have seen that number on the clock like, geez, oh Pete's, probably since 2002. And so that they came home on 11/11, I don't know why, that just meant something to me. It was special to me. And yeah, they came home and a whole new chapter began of my life. So I look back at that time and I am proud of how I walked through it. It was not easy, but I walked through that time with strength and dignity, and I have no regrets. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for your support and your protection during Zeb and Zeke's pregnancy and their delivery and while they're at the NICU. Lord, thank you for how your hand was on me and the twins and Joe and the kids. Thank you for helping me remain strong and sweet. Thank you for the nurses and the doctors and the staff and the everyone that was so kind to me, Lord. And God, I just ask for your comfort and presence over anyone else that's listening right now that's also walking through a difficult season that they're stuck in and see no end in sight, Lord. I just say no more delay. No more delay. And Lord, break anything open that needs to be broken open for them on their behalf. And watch over everyone tonight as they sleep and guard them as they dream, because you love them dearly, dearly and sincerely. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, it's that time. Sweet dreams. Good night.